So in this video we're going to be discussing my take on supernatural phenomenon or paranormal phenomenon. Does it exist? Straight up answer is it does, as you've seen in my previous video with regard to dreams and psychic phenomenon and synchronistic events and knowing your mind conscious knowing things that are in your whereabouts and surroundings, even things in the future that will happen. That's been picked up on and documented. So clearly there are supernatural events, supernatural occurrences in regard to the mind, the psychic phenomenon. And people in government, CIA released reports, and many people released reports that this is a very seriously taken science or field, because people do have psychic abilities, and they try to figure something out and they see an image. I've had psychic experiences in the past. Some of them I don't remember, a lot of them I do. And so it's clear, but people can do this at will, and so it's taken very seriously in government, or it was. It was like one of the top secret undercover operations to figure out like where someone was, where an enemy is, or where someone was kidnapped, or where what's being built in other countries that could be dangerous or whatever. So it was very seriously taken. So that has to do with psychic, but there's all types of supernatural occurrences. My question is on telekinesis. 'Cause telepathy and psychic phenomenon has to do with things that are very like wavy. It has to do with waves and currents, and there's like some kind of explanation that's understandable. But what about telekinesis? So I haven't found that many documented places of telekinesis. I have seen claims that people have teleported, and that kind of makes sense to me as well if you understand the core of matter and what it is made out of. But what about using your own mind to control matter? So I really want to see manipulation on physical matter from one object's perspective to see if that is true. I know that there are documented cases of haunted houses and mansions and places people died at, that there's a reasonable understanding, that there are spirits that can, in limits or with limits, interfere with our world. So, like something that's pretty documented is that spirits are like wind itself. So wherever they go, wind goes, and that's one of the reasons why ruach. It's one of the reasons why ruach in Hebrew it means wind and also means spirit. Because the wind is spirit. It's like air, but it also moves like a wind. And so if you hear a sudden wind, I believe that that's a spirit coming. But what that means is it can move. It can do a little bit of wind against the door. So when I hear my door close, or someone's door close, it means a spirit is there. I mean, there could be a draft, but the reason why the draft was moved in that moment is because of spiritual force that decided to go there. And because it's so easily explained away by wind, the spirits can actually use that to get into the minds of people who already believe this. So that's why I wanted to get into superstition. What is superstition? So we know about paranormal phenomenon. There is supernatural phenomenon with its own sciences, and there perhaps are things that defy the sciences because we're not aware of them. And if you were, then perhaps you can manipulate matter so that you can make things float with your mind, and that would be really cool. I have not succeeded in that yet. It might be fruitless. It might not be constructive. I know Alan Watts was very against using your time that way, and most spiritual teachers are against it. I think it's because even if it does exist, your goal is not to control anything, and trying to control is going to be counterproductive for even getting superpowers. So it's a very fine art. On my other channel I spoke about this. What else? So superstition. The way you can perceive a supernatural phenomenon is if your own mind is capable of grasping and accepting it. So you wouldn't see something extraordinary necessarily if you didn't already perceive that it's possible. Also, your mind is interpreting what it sees constantly. So if you have a whole dogma about why things happen, you have a whole society that believes why things happen a particular way, when it happens, you'll go with that explanation. If you have a whole dogma of why things happen in this paradigm, oh, it's because of the wind and the lighting and this caused that, then you'll come at it from that lens. And the crazy thing is that if you have no explanation for that phenomenon, you'll probably faint because you can't tolerate such a different paradigm from your own. Yeah, that's some ideas I was thinking about.